We'll start this song Vaishnav Bhajan, uh, Gurudev Kripa Bindu Dika. Gurudev Kripa Bindu Dika, Gurudev Se Trina Petha Ati Hi. Gurudev Kripa Bindu Diya, Gurudev Se Trina Petha Ati Hi. सकल सहाने फल दिया कोरो निज मन स्प्रियाही सकल सहाने बल दिया कोरो निज मन स्प्रियाहीना गुरुदेव कृपा बिंदु दिया कोरो ए दासे तृणापेक्षा आतिहीना सकले समाना করিতে শাকাতি দেহনাথ যাথা যাথা সকলে সমানা করিতে শাকাতি দেহনাথ যাথা যাথা তবে তো গাইব হরিনাম সুখে अपराध হবে হাতা তবে তো গাইব হরি নাম সুখে अपराध হবে হাতা গুরুদেব কৃপা বিন্দু দিয়া করো এই দাসে তৃণাপেক্ষা আতিহীনা কৃপা হেন কৃপা লাভিয়ায় জানা কৃতার্থ হইবে নাথা কাবে হেন কৃপা লাভিয়ায় জানা কৃতার্থ হইবে নাথা শক্তি বুদ্ধিহীনা আমি আতি দীনা করো মোরে আত্মসাধা শক্তি বুদ্ধিহীনা আমি আতি দীনা করো মোরে আত্মসাধা গুরুদেব কৃপা বিন্দু দিয়া করো এই দাসে তৃণাপেক্ষা আতিহীনা যোগ্যতা বিচারে কিছু नहीं पाई तुम्हारा करुणा सारा যোগ্যতা বিচারে কিছু नहीं पाई तुम्हारा करुणा सारा करुणा न होइले কান্দিয়া কান্দিয়া প্রাণ ন রাখিব আরা করুণা ন হইলে কান্দিয়া কান্দিয়া প্রাণ ন রাখিব আরা গুরুদেব কৃপা বিন্দু দিয়া করো এই দাসে তৃণাপেক্ষা আতিহীনা গুরুদেব কৃপা বিন্দু দিয়া করো এই দাসে তৃণাপেক্ষা আতিহীনা सकल सहाने बल दिया कोरो jamane sprihahina. Oh, sakal sahane bala diya koro, nijamane sprihina. सकल समान करिते शकाति देहो नाथ जाथा जाथा तबे तो गरीब हरि नाम सुखे अपराध हबे हाथा गुरुदेव कृपा बिंदु दिया दासे तिना बेखा आती काबे है नो कृपा लाभिया जाना कृतार्थ होइबे नाथा शक्ति बुद्धिहीना आमी अति दीना करो मोरे आत्मा साथा शक्ति बुद्धिहीना आमी अति दीना करो मोरे आत्मा साथा गुरुदेव कृपा बिंदु दिया करो हे दासे तिना बेखा आती हीना योग्यता विचारे किछु नहीं पाई तुम्हारा करुणा सारा योग्यता विचारे किछु नहीं पाई तुम्हारा करुणा सारा करुणा न होइले कांदिया कांदिया करुणा न होइले कांदिया कांदिया प्राण न रखिबो आरा प्राण न रखिबो आरा गुरुदेव कृपा बिंदु दिया करो दासे तिना बेखा आती कृपा बिंदु दिया करो दासे तिना बेखाती सकल सहाने बल दिया करो निज मन प्रियहीना ओ सकल सहाने बल दिया करो निज मन प्रियहीना हीना पेखा आती हीना हीना पेखा आती हीना ओ हे वैष्णव ठाकुर वैष्णव ठाकुर वैष्णव ठाकुर ओ है वैष्णव ठाकुर वैष्णव ठाकुर वैष्णव ठाकुर ओ है वैष्णव प्रभु प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद We'll read the translation also. Gurudev, give to this servant just one drop of mercy. I am lower than a blade of grass. Trina peka atihini. Trina means grass. Give me all help. Sakale sahana. Bala diya karo. Bala means give me all strength. Let me be as you are, without desires or aspirations. Nija manis priha hina. I offer you all respect, sakala samana, for thus I may have the energy to know you correctly. Then by chanting the holy name in great ecstasy, all my offenses will cease. O Lord and Master, when will such mercy fall to this one who is weak and devoid of intelligence? Shakti Buddhi Hina Amiyati Dina. I don't have Shakti and I don't have intelligence. Shakti Buddhi Hina Amiyati Dina. And I am very fallen. Dina. Um, Koro More Atma Satha. Atma Satha means let me be with you. Allow me to be with you in the consciousness level. If you examine me, Jogyata Vichare, you will find no qualities. Kichu nahi pai. Tomara Karuna Sara. Your mercy is all that I am made up of. If you are not merciful, Karunana Haibe, uh, onto me I can only be Kandiya Kandiya, Pran na rakhi bovara. I will not be able to maintain my life. So beautiful song. Uh, uh, Prayers to Gurudev. Now we will uh, resume our uh, discussion on Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Om Agyantimirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swa Padantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam साद्वैतम सावधूतम परिजन सहितम कृष्ण चैतन्य देवम श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान सहगणा ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितं च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मुखम करोति वाचालम पंगुम लंगायते गिरिं यत्कृपा तमहं वंदे श्री गुरुदीनतारिणं परमानंद माधवम श्री चैतन्य ईश्वरम। Okay, so the last thing we discussed is this one. After talking with Lord Shiva, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took his permission to leave and went to Kamakoshtipuri. So the last thing is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met Lord Shiva and then they served Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for 3 days, Lord Shiva and Parvati. And now Lord Chaitanya continued in a South India tour. Today will be our last discussion of South India tour. And he will, in the next week, he will go back to Puri and then lot of things will happen. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Rath Yatra festival, how devotees received him back, his mercy on Maharaj Pratap Rudra, and then his attempt to go to Vrindavan, um, and then many things will happen beyond that. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as he was traveling, he met a devotee by the name Ram Das Vipra. And Ram Das Vipra was a pure devotee of Lord Ramachandra. And we see during the pastime Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he did not discriminate, um, and he had a lot of respect to anybody who was a pure worshipper of the Supreme Lord Krishna or any of his incarnation. Like one example is Mukunda, one example is here Ram Das Vipra, a pure devotee of Lord Ramachandra. He invited Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for lunch. So Mahaprabhu went for lunch to his, he would live in the forest, to his kuti, but the lunch was not yet prepared. So Let me close the door. There is some function going on outside. So Mahaprabhu went to uh, Ramdas Vipra uh, during the lunchtime as invited by him. And then Mahaprabhu saw that the lunch is not prepared and have not yet been started. So Ramdas Vipra asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked, "My dear Ramdas, why is lunch not ready yet? It is past noon." Um, Ramdas Vipra said, "My dear Lord, Lakshmana would, Sita Devi would wait till Lakshmana gets the ingredients." In other words, his consciousness, he was always absorbed in the pastimes of Lord Ramachandra, and he was waiting for ingredients to arrive before he cooked. So Mahaprabhu was very pleased by his consciousness, and then ingredients arrived, and Ram Das Vipra cooked, and then he fed Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Uh, and after feeding Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he kept on crying, 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 and he was fasting. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is all knowing. In this particular pastime, he asks Ram Das Vipra, "Why are you crying? And why are you fasting?" Uh, and Ram Das Vipra said, "I am crying to, I am crying because Ravana has touched Mother Sita, has abducted Mother Sita. She was touched by any man other than Lord Ramchandra. Seeing this, my heart is breaking into pieces and I'm crying." These are spiritual emotions. They can be, um, when one comes to the stage of Bhava Bhakti, any spiritual process, Bhava Bhakti will be there, whether one goes to Vaikuntha or Ayodhya or Dwarka or Sri Golok Vrindavan Dham. So Bhava Bhakti is the stage when a small impetus will cause devotion to sprout from one's heart at the stage of Bhava Bhakti. We discussed subject matter of nectar of devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So he was crying, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "Have faith on me. I am telling you with certainty. Mother Sita was not touched by demoniac Ravana. It was Chaya Sita, the shadow of Sita." And hearing this, um, Vasudev Vipra was pacified. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued his story. This story will come back in few more minutes. सेतु बंदे आशी कैला धनुष तीथा स्नाना रामेश्वरा देखी ताहा करिला विश्रामा. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then went to Setu Banda, Rameshwar, where he took his bath at the place called Dhanush Tirtha. From there, he visited the Rameshwar temple and then took rest. So then, um, um, uh, after meeting with Ramadas Vipira, the Brahmana, this whole area is actually pastime to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Ramchandra, Panchavati, um, and Setu Bandha, Dhanush Tirtha, um, all, and then we will see like next 20 minutes will be just pastimes. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visiting the area, Pampa Sarovar. These are all you will hear if you have heard Ramayan, all these pastimes. So Mahaprabhu is traveling through that area. So then he went to Setu Bandha. Setu Bandha is also called Rameshwar. There he took his bath at a place called Dhanush Tirtha. Dhanush Tirtha is very just few miles away from in the same area from Rameshwar. He took his bath there, and then from there he visited Rameshwar temple and then took rest. And you will see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, wherever he would go, any holy place, first he would take bath in the holy Tirtha there, then he would go. Even we will see when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Vrindavan, first he took bath at Pavan Sarovar and then he went to Nandagaon. Those who remember the Vrindavan series that we discussed earlier. This is a temple of Lord Shiva, and the name Rameshwar indicate that he is great personality whose worshipful deity is Lord Ramachandra. So Prabhupada is telling why actually the deity at Rameshwaram is Lord Shiva. So Prabhupada is telling still why that place is called Rameshwar. This indicates that Lord Shiva is a great personality whose worshipable deity is Lord Ramchandra. Thus, Lord Shiva found in temple of Rameshwar is a great devotee of Lord Ramchandra. That's why this place called Rameshwaram. And we know Shiva himself telling to Parvati, Shri Rama Rama Rame Rameti, Rame Rame Manorame. Um, he always chants the name of Lord Ramchandra. In this area, there are 24 different holy places, one of which is Dhanush Tirtha, located about 12 miles southeast of Rameshwar. It is near the last station of Southern Railway, a station called Ramnath. It is said that here, on the request of Ravana's younger brother Vibhishan, Lord Ramchandra destroyed the bridge to Lanka with his bow while returning to his capital. That's why Dhanush Tirtha. So he took the Dhanush um, 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 and blow onto the bridge, and that's how he destroyed the bridge on the request of Vibhishan. It is said that one who visits Dhanush Tirtha is liberated from the cycle of birth and death. So, a lot of glories of this Dhanush Tirtha. It's basically you go and take path there. It's a place from where Ramchandra destroyed the bridge. So he went there and then came back to Rameshwaram, and the name Rameshwaram indicate that Lord Shiva is a pure devotee of Lord Ramachandra, and then he took the darshan. And then what happened? Viprasabhaya sunetaha kurma purana tara madhe aila pativrata upakhyana. There among the Brahmanas, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu listened to Kurma Puran, wherein is mentioned the chaste woman's narration. So, and then we also see that uh, um, it is advised that when we visit holy places, we should go and hear Harikatha. Holy places should not, it's like, um, uh, uh, people who, there is a verse which says people who go to Haridwar to only to take bath in the Ganges and only to visit the deities and not hearing Hari Katha is like place of pilgrimage for crows. Something like it's not advisable. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed by his own example that there were Brahmanas who were reciting Kurma Puran, and then he went there and he heard the narration of chaste woman, which is Sita Devi. So this particular verse is from Kurma Puran, and I will directly read the translation. When he was petitioned by Mother Sita, um, um, the fire god Agni brought forth an illusory form of Sita, and Ravana, who had 10 heads, kidnapped the false Sita. So this is a Shastric evidence that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard um, how the Sita is Maya Sita. This comes from Kurma Purana. Actually, our entire philosophy is actually coming from Shastra, but a lot is coming from how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu revealed to us. The original Sita then went to the abode of fire god. So when Mother Sita entered, she went to Agni Dev, and um, um, Maya Sita, she came out, and opposite thing happened when Lord Ramchandra wanted to test the sanctity. So Maya Sita entered and Agni Dev replaced, and then real Sita came to Lord Ramchandra. So when Lord Ramchandra tested the body of Sita, it was the false illusory Sita that entered the fire. At that time, the fire god brought the original Sita from his abode and delivered her to Lord Ramachandra. So, and then we also hear even our Srimati Radharani, when Krishna went to Dwarka, um, Srimati Radharani, out of separation from Krishna, and Vishakha, out of separation from Krishna, they could not sustain their life, and then this is intimate pastimes, and then she entered Yamuna, um, and then she went to Sun God, and then Sun God um, gave her um, 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 to Satyajit. Satyajit was a great devotee of Sun God. Um, he gave Shrimati Radharani to her in a full grown form, and her name was Satyabhama. Um, and then Lord Sri Krishna Now there is a beautiful story. Those who have read Krishna book, they know the story of Shamantaka jewel, where the jewel was stolen and the blame was on Lord Krishna. Later on, they found out that Lord Krishna was not to be blamed. There it shows, Prabhupada says that, even Lord Krishna was questioned when he came. The nature of this material world is people will always point fingers onto you. And then he retrieved the Shamantaka jewel from um, um, by fighting with, I forgot, it's been a long since that that devotee from Ramchandra's time and bear. So he fought with him, Jambavan. Yeah, Jambavan. He fought with Jambavan. And he retrieved the Shamanta Kajal and brought back. And Satyajit was humiliated when he came to know that actually Lord Krishna did not steal. And then Satyajit gave his daughter Satyabhama to Lord Krishna in marriage. And that's how in Dwarka Leela, Srimati Radharani joined Lord Krishna in Dwarka Leela as Satyabhama. Um, and then because Radharani can never leave Vrindavan, so Srimati Radharani simultaneously appeared in Vrindavan also, simultaneously. So she disappeared and then she simultaneously appeared. So she is there for all time as Satyabhama with Lord Krishna in Dwarka and um, uh, in Vrindavan also. She came back. So the son got took and then he gave it to Satyajit. Another thing is, our Karna, he was also in his previous life, he has 1,000 hands. And then he was defeated by Sahasra Kavach. And then he was defeated by Narayan Rishi. And only one hand was remaining. And then he he went to Sun God, and then Sun God gave it to Kunti Devi. When Kunti Devi, she had the benediction by mantra, she can have the child from anyone. So she wanted to try if this mantra works when she was a small child. Um, and then she summoned Sun God and he gave her Karna. So again, Sun God took it and gave it. Likewise, he took Srimati Radharani because Yamuna is actually daughter of Sun God. Uh, um, well, it's another complex pastime, but Yamuna is actually expansion of Vishakha Devi. Uh, she is Vishakha Devi in Golok Vrindavan. She is eternally existing in Golok Vrindavan. But when Lord Krishna was coming, then Srimati Radharani asked, where is Govardhan and where is Yamuna? If I cannot go when Krishna asked Srimati Radharani, I am going to earthly Vrindavan, then will you come with me? And she said, I want to come with you, but I cannot go anywhere without Govardhan and Yamuna. So Govardhan also appeared as the son of Himachal Parvat, and Yamuna appeared as the daughter of sun god. That's why Yama and Yami were brothers and sister. Yama is Yamaraj, the son of Suryadev, and Yami is um, Yamuna Devi, Kalindi. When Srimati Radharani was given to Lord Krishna by Suryadev, Sun God was very pleased with Satyajit. So Suryadev gave him Shamataka jewel, and Suryadev also gave Satyajit Satyabhama. So all the queens actually in Dwarka, 16,108 queens, were actually expansions of 16,108 gopis in Goloka. Out of separation, they were simultaneously performing pastimes in Dwarka. So, and we hear even in Chaitanya Charitamrita, so they are actually expansions of gopis. So, Kalindi is expansion of Vishakha Devi, um, who in Bhauma Leela appeared as sun god, just like Govardhan appeared as son of the Parvat. So, and here Agni Dev, he took the false Sita and then gave back the original Sita, because and we see similar example, Yoga Maya, when um, Vasudev brought Yoga Maya. As soon as Vasudev was touched by Kans, she turned into Mahamaya. So the divine potency of the Lord cannot be touched. It's the same potency, but gets covered. So likewise, uh, Mother Sita becomes Maya Sita, just like Yoga Maya became um, Mahamaya in the hands of her demon. Um, so when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard this in the assembly of Brahmanas um, at Rameshwaram, Setubandha, he was very pleased. Patrapana viprera haila anandita mana prabhura charane dhari karaye krandana. Ramdas Vipra was so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He wanted Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will see very eager to serve his devotees. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went back to Ramdas Vipra, and then he already told that, and he was fasting, he was crying because his heart was breaking with the thought that Ravana touched Mother Sita. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went back and he showed him the script from Kurmapura. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu self-same Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he is also authorizing from scriptures, because otherwise in future unscrupulous people will come and give their you know commentary against scriptures, and so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never deviated from Shastra. So Ramdas Vipra, when Mahaprabhu went back and showed him from Kurma Puran, he was very pleased to receive the original leaf manuscript of the Kurma Puran, and he immediately fell down before the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and began to cry. Vipra kahe tumi saksha Sri Raghunandana, Sanyasi Raveshe More Dila Darashana. After receiving the manuscript, the Brahmana, being very pleased, said, Sir, you are Lord Ramachandra himself, and have come in a dress of a sannyasi to give me audience. Now, this is called Divyagyan Hire Prakashito. The transcendental knowledge is revealed. Because he was a pure devotee, he could see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the body of, in Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami explains in Adi Leela, in the body of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the incarnations resides. Just like in the body of Lord Shri Krishna, all the incarnation resides. And when he was performing Madhurya pastimes with the Gopas or the Gopis or Mother Yashoda and others, it was Vrajendra Nandana, Nanda Nandana, Yashoda Nandana, that Krishna, different names. But when he was killing demons, he was Vasudev Krishna or Narayan aspect. So that was within Krishna, all incarnation within Krishna. And when Krishna left Vrindavan, Vasudev Krishna left. Vrajendra Nandana Krishna remained in Gokul, Gokul Mahaval. So all the incarnations are within the body of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So as Lord Ramchandra, he knew his pure devotees, and why Krishna appears, he appears to reciprocate loving relationship with his devotees. And then he gave the intelligence that they can understand. Hanuman wanted to cheat before, so he could not recognize when he first met Lord Ramchandra in the first meeting, Pampa Sarovar. You know that uh, Risha, I forgot the name of the mountain, Rishashinga mountain, something like that. Long back, I don't speak on Ramayan, not very good at it. So during that first meeting, Hanuman could not recognize. And when Hanuman asked Lord Ramchandra, I am your eternal devotee, how is it I could not recognize? That's because he came in a disguise form. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu covered his identity there. But Vasudev Vipra could understand. Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vidochanena. So when one has love of God, one can recognize the Supreme Lord, but one has to be on that platform. So Prabhupada said we cannot see Krishna with our material vision, but only when our eyes are anointed with pure love for Krishna, for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then we can see that. So then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after this particular pastime, and then he continued. And then there is a beautiful pastime, so Bhattadhari. Some of you may have heard, very instructive pastime. Amilita Laya Dekhi Shri Rama Gaura Hari Mallara Deshete Aila Yatha Bhattadhari. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then came to Amlitala, where he saw the deity of Sri Ramachandra. This whole belt that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is covering is actually the pastimes of Lord Ramachandra. Therefore, he went to a place. So this is after Tamil Nadu and on the way to Maharashtra. This whole belt comes. Thereafter, he went to the place as Malaradesh, where a community of Bhattadharis lived. So Bhattadharis are, they are Norman Norman community, or a group of people. They call themselves religious, but they are not very pious people also. But there is a community. स्त्री धना देखा तांद्रा लोभा जन्माइला आर्य शरला विप्रेरा buddhi nashakaila. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was going with only one servant, Krishna Das. And we remember there is a beautiful interaction. Nityananda Prabhu wanted to go, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I cannot trust you. You broke the danda into three pieces. I will not come with you. And everybody else said, we want to come with you. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I cannot bring you with me, because then you will not allow me to practice renunciation. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very, very inclined to live a simple lifestyle, a lifestyle of renounced order. But they would give him oil to massage, a pillow and a bed to sleep, and very opulent food stuff. And they would take care of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu like who he is, and they know who Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is. So he wanted to go by himself, but Nityananda Prabhu sent one personal servant of himself, and his name was Krishnadas. Krishnadas was a very simple Brahmana, very gentle by behavior. Whatever Nitai would say, he would do, like a pure servant of Nitai. Very gentle and very simple. Very simple means, not no fault finding, criticism, nothing. Um, Inside, outside, same. Straightforward, humble, gentle soul. And Nityananda Prabhu had lot of faith. He was an associate of Nityananda Prabhu. So Nityananda Prabhu had lot of faith in Krishnadas. And Nityananda Prabhu is servant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he sent Krishnadas with this. Krishnadas is different from Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. I'm sure you know. Krishnadas was um, a, a servant of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Nityananda Prabhu, who was with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu throughout the South India too. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is naturally a disciple of, uh, Siksha disciple of Raghunath Das Goswami, who wrote Chaitanya Charitamrita. So one time, when with women, Istri Dhana, with women, the Bhattadharis allured the Brahmana Krishna Das, who was simple and gentle. The simple and gentle is a required quality for a disciple. Um, uh, if one wants to make progress in one Krishna consciousness, one should be gentle by behavior and one should be simple. And we see that in Srimad Bhagavatam in Narad Muni. He says, I was very gentle by behavior and simple, and with all my heart I served the Bhakti Vedantas. They initiated me, and they gave me the mantra. They taught me how to practice devotional service. I heard Krishna Katha in their association. I ate their remnants, and that's how I could make great spiritual advancement. And I developed lot of taste in hearing and chanting. So he was very simple and gentle, but by the virtue of their bad association, they polluted his intelligence. Bad association is very dangerous and can affect one even in the presence of Supreme Lord. Even if we are with Krishna, bad association, bad association can pollute our intelligence. We may be very simple, gentle, trying to become very, very Krishna conscious, but bad association will make us make us forget Krishna. It creates an illusion. Um, and in that illusion, we forget who we are and we are attracted towards illusion as if that is a reality. This is the power of bad association. Um, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was asked, who is a Vaishnava? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Asat Sanga Tyag Ehi Vaishnavacha. One who does not associate with bad association, he is a Vaishnava. And the one of the bad association that we one of the bad association we have is our own mind, because the mind is carrying a lot of impressions. And when we from the past life or in this life in the past, mind has many impressions. And if we contemplate on it, um, uh, then we are taking bad association and it will create bewilderment. It will create illusion. It will divert us from the service to the Supreme Lord. Um, and same thing we hear in Nectar of Instruction, Upadeshamrita, the 11 instructions by Srila Rupa Goswami from Shraddha to Prema. There he says things which are not favorable. And one of the element is Jana Sangha, Sangha Tyagat, uh, uh, avoiding bad association. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur in Bhakti Loka mentions that bad association is association of women, which is, for man it is woman, for woman it is man, means enjoyership mentality. Association of women, association of men attached to women, uh, Mayavadis. So these are uh, all considered bad association. So he was allured. So what Bhattadaris would do, they have trained girls and they would entice by their sweet words or gestures, however. And this simple Brahmana, he was carried away. And then what happened? राते उठी आइला विप्रा भट्टाधारी घरे ताहारा उद्देश्य प्रभु आइला सतवरे. Allured by the Bhattadharis, Krishnadas went to their place early in the morning. The Lord also went there very quickly just to find him. So they allured him by their gestures and sweet words. And Krishnadas thought, that's what I want. I want association of these women. And then he left the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whom he was serving, a servant of Nityananda Prabhu. And then he went and started associating with those women in the Bhattadhari group. Now he was completely taken away by that association. Prabhupada writes, even bad association can affect us even in the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So our association with Supreme Personality of Godhead is through the holy name. Even during chanting, if we take bad association, we will be bewildered and our mind will have a lot of space to go, uh, uh, even during chant. In fact, there was a brahmachari class by Bhaktiya Sagar Maharaj. He was visiting us. You all know, most of you met him. So we invited him, and we were like Vimal Kishore Prabhu, myself, Sham Kishore Prabhu, Bhagavacharya Prabhu, and some devotees were online, purely brahmachari class. So one question came and was asked to Maharaj. Maharaj, sometimes they asked Maharaj, how to not be attracted to opposite sex, how to avoid that. And then Maharaj answered that all of you have heard is keeping yourself busy in Krishna service. So mind has no space to wander, keeping yourself very busy. So one devotee asked Maharaj, sometimes it is seen, for most of the time it is seen, that Maya is more stronger when we are chanting the holy names of Krishna than at other time. Other time when we are very busy, it's relatively easy. Of course, Maya is always all powerful. It is relatively, because you are so busy. But sometimes, even during chanting, the attack of Maya may be very severe. So how to deal with it? And Maya says, and Mara said, yeah, that is common. So one has to be very careful. Because what happens when we are chanting now, if we are not absorbed in chanting, the mind is free. When we are doing physical seva, na, like washing pots, cleaning, or making some presentation, like many of you are engaged in teaching activities, or if you're doing some physical seva, buying some groceries, it's relatively easier. But when you are sitting, there are only two people. There is holy name and there is mind. Now, who wins, that we decides. So this is also a very beautiful instruction, um, um, that one has to be determined. Here, Prabhupada also says that if one is not determined, even the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot save us. Even Krishna cannot help us. That's why Rupa Goswami says in Nectar of Instruction, um, um, the six qualities that are favorable. And there he says there has to be patience, determination, enthusiasm, confidence, um, um, following the footsteps of acharyas, avoiding bad association. So um, these things are favorable. So the Lord also went there very quickly. And now here we see uh, a contradictory nature in Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is also very instructive. Now, see, two things are there. There are two personalities in Chaitanya Leela. One is Chota Haridas and one is Krishnadas. Krishnadas actually went to the association of women to enjoy with them. Chota Haridas, those who love, this is Krishna's story. Chota Haridas was actually an associate of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then he went to beg some rice for Lord Chaitanya. He went to the house of Sikhi Mahiti, and then um, her sister also came out. She was a very old lady. Chota Haridas, Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami does not mention. Chota Haridas just came back, but he may have a bad thought, just a thought. And then um, um, Chota Haridas came back, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rejected Chota Haridas, and he said, I don't want to see Chota Haridas again. And then after 1 year, Chota Haridas was waiting for Lord Chaitanya to show his mercy unto him. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not budge. And Chota Haridas entered into Prayag in Allahabad. He entered into um, um, he entered into he committed suicide actually. Chota Haridas. But naturally Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is all merciful. So he's an eternal associate, but Mahaprabhu used Chota Haridas to teach an example. Uh, just a thought, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not tolerate. And here we see um, Krishna Das. He actually went, not just a thought. Naturally, he was attracted to them, and he actually left Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he went to uh, Bhattadharis. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, now Chota Haridas Mahaprabhu rejected, but Mahaprabhu did not reject Krishna Das. And actually, what Mahaprabhu did, we will see, but just because, for the sake of completing this particular aspect, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he brought back, he saved Krishna Das, then he went back, and then he handed over Krishna to Nityananda Prabhu. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I reject Krishna Das. But because he was the devotee of Nityananda Prabhu is more merciful than Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Nityananda Prabhu arranged a service for Krishna Das. And he sent Krishna Das to take a message that Lord Chaitanya has returned from South India too. Because Advaita Charya, uh, uh, Haridas Thakur, uh, Shivas Thakur, and all the Panchatatvas and their unlimited associates were waiting in Bengal for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's return. Every night they would have whole night kirtan and intimate association of Lord Chaitanya. Now for 2 years no association, and they were dying in separation. So Nityananda Prabhu sent Krishna Das to Bengal to tell Mother Sachi and all the devotees Lord Chaitanya has returned. Then they all, Shivananda said, and they all, chalo, let's go to Puri, and you will see that. So they all came back to Puri, and then wonderful, wonderful meeting between Lord Chaitanya and all the associates after 2.5 years. Um, um, so Nityananda Prabhu, by engaging Krishnadas in the service of Vaishnavas, he received lot of mercy from Vaishnavas, and finally Mahaprabhu also forgave him. But Mahaprabhu did not forgive Chota Haridas. Many things can be said on this aspect. Um, one difference is Krishnadas was in the um, team of Nitai, and Chota Haridas was in the team of Mahaprabhu. So he was personally Mahaprabhu's servant, Chota Haridas, in the camp of Mahaprabhu. But Krishnadas were in the camp of Nitai. So Mahaprabhu did not say anything Chota Haridas because he know he's in Nitai's camp. So I should not touch Mahaprabhu. Not like that. Just for example, uh, when even during Lord Ramchandra's pastimes, Ravana was in the camp of Lord Shiva, devotee of Lord Shiva. So Lord Ramchandra, before killing, he prayed to Lord Shiva, because he know that this is under shelter of Lord Shiva. So out of respect for his own devotee. Likewise here, although he is Balaram, he is Krishna himself, but he is also a devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Out of respect for Nityananda Prabhu, he did not say anything. But he gave him back to Nitai and he said, I have nothing to do with Krishna Das. Now you handle. And when Nitai said, my lord, can we send him and give him this service? And Mahaprabhu said, do whatever you like. So there it is said that Nityananda Prabhu is more merciful than even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now another difference is Chota Haridas was in the renounced order. He was a sannyasi. And as a sannyasi, he had a thought. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to emphasize that follow your ashram strictly. If you go beyond the boundary of your ashram, um, you will not be accepted by Chota Haridas. Um, when Raghunath Das Goswami asked through the medium of Saru Damodar Goswami to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what is the duty of a man who is denounced order of life? What is the duty of a man? And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied through Saru Damodar Goswami, um, 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 Grame Kathana Sunibe, Grame Kathana Kahibe. And in Bengali, he said, don't hear gossip, criticism, faults of anyone. Do not hear, do not speak Grame Katha. And then he said, do not dress opulently. And then he said, do not eat opulent food stuff. And then he said, always remember the pastime of Chota Haridas Thakur. Always remember that pastime. And then he said, always meditate on Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. Uh, uh, so these were the instructions Mahaprabhu gave to Raghunath Das Goswami as one who is in the renounced order of life. So continuing, Asiya kahe na saba bhattadhari gane amara brahmana tumi rakha ki karane. Upon reaching their community, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked the Bhattadharis, why are you keeping my Brahmana assistant? So Mahaprabhu also ran. Imagine Supreme Personality of Godhead is running because we are illusioned by Maya. So he also ran. Why? Because he know, he is under my care. Mahaprabhu know that he is under my care and he is in the camp of Nityananda Prabhu. So it's my duty to save him, although he was illusion. So he went to Bhattadharis and he said, Bhattadharis are also sannyasis. So he told Bhattadharis that I am also a sannyasi and he is my assistant. Why have you taken him from me? Soni Sava Bhattadhari Uthe Astalana Mari Bare Aila Sabe Charidika Dhana. Upon hearing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the Bhattadharis came running from all sides with weapons in their hand, desiring to hurt the Lord. So this is, envy naturally. Um, so when Lord questioned him, they were hurt. They were hurt to an extent they wanted to kill Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is actually false ego. Uh, um, if somebody gets hurt very easily just by one or two words, one should know that because the false ego is attacked. And uh, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, one must learn to tolerate. If one exhibits anger and speak in that time, one will face difficulty in one's own chant because naturally lack of humility and lack of tolerance. Uh, Rather, everything should be seen as like if somebody misbehaves with us, we should seize, and like my spiritual master says, we should seize at as an opportunity to exhibit humility and tolerance. He says one should be very grateful to those who give us hard times, who put us in trouble, because okay, my humility and my tolerance is being tested. And like Srila Prabhupada also says, the greatness of a man can be estimated by one's ability to tolerate provoking situations. It is being tested, and even if I lack there, it's an opportunity to cultivate. It's an opportunity to practice because unless we are put in a situation where we can grow through difficult times, we won't grow. So like my spiritual master says, Krishna gives us problems so we can grow through the problems. We can grow through them. And then we can advance. And then we will see now this is all Krishna's mercy. Everything should be seen as Krishna's arrangement. Um, when we become angry, upset, act on false ego, retaliate, then we go through a dip in our Krishna consciousness. And then again the same test will come, again the same test will come, again the same test will come. In Grahasthashram, that test comes from the spouse or children. In Brahmacharya ashram, it will come from co-brahmacharis, and sometimes outside also it comes, but mainly co-brahmacharis. So this is very good. This is all Krishna's arrangement. Everyone, Krishna is individually working on everyone, so everyone can grow. But these are Bhattadharis, so they were hurt and they decided to attack Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They wanted to kill him, so they brought the weapons, as you see in the picture here with the weapons, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is taking Krishnadas there. तारा अस्त्र तारा आंगे पड़े हाथा हाइते खंडा खंडा haila bhatta dhari palayachari bhite. However, their weapons fell from their hand and stuck their own bodies. When some of the bhattadharis were just cut to pieces, the others ran away in the four directions. So they threw the weapon at Lord Chaitanya, and the weapon took a U-turn and cut off their hands and their legs and their heads and different limbs of the bodies, and they started bleeding and तड़प रहे थे वो लोग pain में. This is Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everything is under his control, and others started to run, and there was lot of hahakar. Bhattadhari ghare maha uthi lakrandana. They were kind of roaring and crying. Um, Keshedhari Viprelana Karilagamana. While there was much roaring and crying at the Bhattadhari community, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu grabbed Krishnadas by the hair and took him away. So that's how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then very interestingly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not say anything to Krishnadas. There is no mention. He did not went out and he said, what kind of servant are you? Completely useless. How can you do this? Why did you give? No talks. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there is no mention of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu speaking also. Like just Mahaprabhu was completely prema matta prema vesh, completely absorbed in the holy name. Saved him and continued throughout South India too. And he was in ecstasy and he was preaching and he continued as if nothing happened. But when he went there, then he told one line to Nityananda Prabhu, okay, Nitai, I reject him. Now you do whatever you like with it. And then Nitai saved him also. So in this way he was saved. Then Mahabhaktagana Saha Taha Goshti Kaila Brahma Samhita Dhyaya punti taha paila. Then they went to the temple of Adikeshav, where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu discussed spiritual matters among highly advanced devotees. While there, he found a chapter of Brahma Samhita. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued and went to Adikeshav temple. In the Adikeshav temple, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu found the entire Brahma Samhita, and he took the fifth chapter and he brought it with him. This is the one book he carried with him. So, how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu found Brahma Samhita. Punti Punti Pana Prabhura Haila Ananda Apar Kampashru Sweda Stambha Pulakavika. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was greatly happy to find the chapter of that scripture, and symptoms of ecstatic transformation, trembling, tears, perspiration, trance, and jubilation were manifest in his body. So this is these are the symptoms of bhava bhakti, asta sattvic vikar. They now, when one comes in contact with the holy name, intimately in touch with the holy name, the life air, the pran, gets agitated because of the jubilation. That's why it's called ecstasy or bliss, agitated. And when the life air comes in contact with the earth element, one becomes stunned. When the life air comes in contact with the water element, tears come from the eyes, perspiration, sweat comes from the body. Um, um, and uh, air element, one starts shivering, kampa, like we pray, like one is chanting and the teeth start chattering and one starts shivering. Um, in Guru Ashtaka, every morning we pray. Kampa Shru, trembling of the body and tears. These are the symptoms that are always exhibiting in the body of spiritual master as he chant the holy names of Krishna. Um, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited all these symptoms when he read Brahma Samhita. Brahma Samhita is extremely wonderful book. Those who have not read, highly recommended. Um, it's only Srila Prabhupada did not give a translation Brahma Samhita, but there is a translation by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. It's little difficult to understand, but if you tolerate few verses, you will kind of get used to his way of writing, his language, and then you can understand. But lot of tattva. The whole Goloka chart is actually taken from Brahma Samhita. Uh, all the verses like how Suryadev worships Krishna, how Ganesh worships Krishna, how Narayan is expansion of Krishna. All these tattva are actually coming from Brahma Samhita. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu read all these verses, he was in great ecstasy. Um, all the Astasatu Vikar developed in his body. Siddhanta Shastre Nahi Brahma Samhita Rasama Govinda Mahima Gyanera Paramakarana Alpakshara Kahe Siddhanta Apara Sakala Vaishnava Shastra Madhyati Sara. There is no scripture equal to Brahma Samhita as far as the final scripture conclusion is concerned. Indeed, that scripture is the supreme revelation of the glories of Lord Govinda. That's why, every verse ends with Govinda Madi Purusham. He is the original personality of God. Tamaham Bhajami. For it reveals all the topmost knowledge about how everyone is a servant of Govinda. Is actually, naturally, it's coming from uh, Srimad Bhagavatam also. Ishvara Paramat. No, what is that verse? Krishna's to Bhagwan Swayam. Paribhasha Sutra of Srimad Bhagavatam is that particular verse from third chapter, first canto. Uh, Krishna's to Bhagwan Swayam. Since all conclusions are briefly presented in Brahma Samhita, it is essential among all the Vaishnava literatures. So this Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami is saying there is no scripture equal to Brahma Samhita as far as the conclusion of scriptures is concerned and the glories of Krishna. And so Mahaprabhu took that with him. मध्वाचार्य स्थाने आइला यहाँ तत्ववादी उडुपी ते कृष्णा देखी ताहा हाइला Premonmadi. And then Mahaprabhu went to Udupi, and there is a conversation with Madhavites. And we'll see here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also defeated the Madhvacharyas. So far, Mahaprabhu, our today's discussion, he went to Setubandha, he went to Rameshwaram, before that Dhanush Tirtha, where he took his bath, where Lord Ramchandra broke the bridge. So the bridge is broken condition now. You cannot take the bridge and go to Sri Lanka now. It's broken in between. So Lord Ramchandra, that Dhanush Tirtha, and then how he pacified Ramdas Vipra by bringing him the quote from Kurma Puran that how it was Maya Sita and not the original Sita. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, uh, uh, where else he went? Uh, just now we saw he saved Krishnadas from Bhattadharis. He found Brahma Samhita in Adi Keshav Mandir. Uh, Okay. And now Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is next arriving at Udupi. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu next arrived at Udupi, um, the place of Madhvacharya, where the philosophers known as Tattvavadis resided. So Madhvacharya followers are also called Tattvavadis. There he saw the deity of Lord Krishna and became mad with ecstasy. Now Madhvacharya, they don't actually worship Srimati Radharani. They worship only Lord Krishna. Like we know that three out of four sampradaya worship Lord Krishna. Madhvacharya, uh, uh, then uh, Rudra Sampradaya, and Kumar Sampradaya. Except Sri Sampradaya, other three Sampradaya worship Krishna. But now hear carefully, and in this way you will know more about Madhvacharya. We are not really followers of Madhvacharya. And we will see here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will defeat the followers of Madhvacharya. So once while sitting beside the sea engrossed in meditation upon Lord Krishna, he saw that a large boat containing goods for Dwarka was in danger. So this is about Madhvacharya. One time he was sitting beside the sea and meditating on Lord Krishna, and then he saw a large boat was coming with lot of stuff for Dwarka, and the boat was in danger. He gave some signs by which the boat could approach the shore, and it was saved. The owners of the boat wanted to give him a present. And at that time, Madhvacharya agreed to take some Gopi Chandar. He received a big lump of Gopi Chandar. And as it was being brought to him, it broke apart and revealed a large deity of Lord Krishna. The deity had a stick in one hand and a lump of food in the other. As soon as Madhvacharya received the deity of Krishna in this way, he composed a prayer. The deity was so heavy that not even 30 people could lift it. Yet Madhvacharya personally brought this deity to Udupi. Madhvacharya, wind god, Vayu, so very, very powerful. So 30 people cannot lift the deity, and he alone lifted and brought it to the temple um, and served. This is the darshan. As you see, this is the original deity. In one hand, Lord Krishna is carrying food, in another hand, he is carrying a stick. Um, and he is being worshipped since the time of Madhvacharya, which is, less than around 1,000 years old deity, still worshipped. um, तत्ववादी आचार्य सभा शास्त्र प्रवीणा तांदे प्रश्न kaila prabhu hana yena dina. The chief acharya of Tattvad community was very learned in the revealed scriptures. So, the leader of Madhvacharya that time, 500 years back, like the sannyasi. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu humbly questioned him, and it is said the chief acharya of Tattvad was very learned in revealed scriptures, very knowledgeable, very learned in Shastra. So Mahaprabhu, in a humble position, he inquired from that leader of Madhvacharya. Sadhya sadhana ami na jani bhala mate, sadhya sadhana sheshta yahana amate. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I do not know very well the aim of life and how to achieve it. Please tell me of the best ideal for humanity and how to attain it. So Mahaprabhu said, sadhya sadhana. Sadhya means what is the goal of life? Now, naturally, one must inquire this question when one meets a spiritual personality. So Mahaprabhu met this leader of Madhvacharya that time, and he said, what is the goal of life? How to achieve that goal of life? What is the sadhana required? Amina jani bhala mate. I don't know. I don't. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in all humility, I don't know. Sadhya sadhana shrestha janaha amate. Please tell me the ideal sadhana and the ideal how one should worship. What is the goal of worship for all humanity and how to attain that? Please enlighten me. I don't know this. आचार्य कहे वर्णाश्रम धर्म कृष्ण समर्पण यही हाया कृष्ण भक्तेरा श्रेष्ठ साधना पंचविध मुक्ति पना वैकुंठ गमाना साध्य श्रेष्ठ हाया ए शास्त्र निरूपणा. When one dedicates the duties of varnashram dharma to Krishna, this is very enlivening. The conversation between Lord Chaitanya and Tattvavad, Madhvacharya follower, and how Lord Chaitanya defeated them, and how they were ashamed of what they spoke. So this is the answer from Tattvavad, Madhvacharya follower. When one dedicates the duties of Varnashram Dharma to Krishna, he is eligible for 5 kinds of liberation. Thus, he is transferred to the spiritual world in Vaikuntha. This is the highest goal of life and the verdict of all the revealed scriptures. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will give very wonderfully and strongly refute this conception. So, he is telling Varnashram duty dedicated to Krishna. You are in Grahasthashram, do everything for pleasure of Krishna. You are in Vanaprastha, you are a sannyasi, you are a brahmachari, you are a brahmana, you keep doing what you are doing, offer it to Krishna. Or as a Kshatriya, keep fighting, keep doing. As a Vaishya, keep doing your business. As a Shudra, you keep doing what you are doing, just offer the results to Krishna. And in this way, you will be eligible for 5 kinds of liberation. What are those? Sayujya, Samipya, Salokya, Shrishti. Um, um, what else is meaning? Sayujya, Salokya, Samipya, Shrishti.
Sarishtya.
Say again.
Sarishtya.
Sarupya, Prabhuji.
Sarupya, Sharshti, Samipya, Saloka, Sayujya. Yeah, okay, thank you. Thank you. Yes. So he is eligible. So if whatever you do, if you arpan, Krishna Samarpan, if you do it, if you offer those things to Krishna, then you will be eligible for 5 kinds of liberation. Thus, he is transferred to spiritual world in Vaikuntha. So one thing is we see here that Madhvacharya also aspire for Vaikuntha. They're not aspiring for Goloka. And then they are aspiring for liberation, including Sayujya and Samipya. But a devotee rejects all these 5 also. And we will see many things Mahaprabhu will say. And this is the highest goal of life, is to attain Vaikuntha. Um, and the sadhana, there is no sadhana. There is no hearing, there is no chanting, there is no sadhana. The only sadhana is you keep doing what you are doing, and then you use the result in offer it to Krishna. Just like Christianity also say, do whatever you are doing, no problem. He died for your sins anyways. Just remember Jesus and offer everything to him. So something similar, Madhvacharya commentary. प्रभु कहे शास्त्र कहे श्रवण कीर्तन कृष्ण प्रेम सेवा falera parama sadhana. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, according to verdict of the Shastras, the process of hearing and chanting is the best means to attain loving service to Krishna. So Krishna prema seva. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is telling, actually the goal is Krishna prema. The goal is not 5 kinds of liberation. Goal is Krishna prema. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also says, Mama Janmana Janmani Janmanishware Bhavatad Bhakti Rahitukitrai. He did not say birth after birth, give me Sarupya, Salokya, Samipya, etc. He said birth after birth, Mama Janmani Janmanishware Bhavati Ahitukitrai. Causeless devotional service. Just let me engage birth after birth in devotional service. So a devotee does not even aspire for one of the 5 kinds of liberation, and the goal is Krishna prema. And the sadhana is Shravan Kirtan. You chant and you hear about Krishna. Not just keep doing what you are doing and do it for the pleasure of Krishna, but you take time out and at some point of time you only do Shravan and Kirtan, continuously hear and continuously chant. That's the sadhana, not one ashram arpan to Krishna. That's not the sadhana and Krishna prema. So that is the best means to attain loving service to Krishna. According to Tattvavadis, the highest goal is to return home back to Godhead. But in Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's opinion, the highest goal is attaining love of God, Krishna prema. Um, in neither the material world or the highest goal is attaining love of God in either the material world or the spiritual. Goal is attaining love for Krishna. When devotee asks Prabhupada, where are you going? Prabhupada says, I'm going to hell to preach. Now, once you get love of Godhead, the devotee wants, my Lord, whatever surrender means, you can engage me in whichever way you want. Let me never forget you. We see the devotees are always praying, let me never forget you. Let me, like Brahmaji prays, let me be born in a house of a devotee and be engaged in your devotional service. So devotional service is the goal. Everyone is after success in religion, economic development, sense gratification, ultimately merging into existence of Brahman. Dharma projita kaitavotaro paramo nirmat saranam sata. Completely, this is from Shrimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, second verse. Dharma projita kaitavotaro. Projita means rejects. Dharma rejects. So Shrimad Bhagavatam completely rejects all the motivated religions. Actually, get um, okay, let us see. It will be very nice if we just let the flow continue, the conversation. Lot of points will come. Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated, this Bhagavad Puran propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure at heart. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is quoting that, the goal is, all this dharma. What is dharma? According to um, some Shastra, dharma, artha, kama, moksha is you get sense gratification, economic development, religion, other things. But Bhagavatam completely rejects, and Bhagavatam establishes love of God as the ultimate goal. Karma ninda karma tyag sarva shastra kahe karma haite prema bhakti Krishna ka guna hai. In every revealed scripture, there is condemnation of fruitive activities. It is advised everywhere to give up engagement in fruitive activities, for no one can attain the highest goal of life, love of God, by executing them. So Madhvacharya, they are telling that you do fruitive activities and just arpan to Krishna. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is telling you give up engagement in fruitive activities. Karma tyag, karma ninda, karma tyag, sarva shastra kahe, karma haite prema bhakti Krishna kabu nahi. For no one can attain the highest goal of life, love of God, by executing them, just by executing fruitive activities, desiring some results out of fruitive activities. But Shravan Kirtan. One cannot attain love of God by executing karma kanda or jnana kanda. If you see Shuddha Bhakti, what is Shuddha Bhakti? Rupa Goswami says, Anya Bilashita Shunya, Jnana Karma Navrita, Anukulina Krishnanu Shilanam Bhakti Duttama. So he says, Anya Bilashita Shunya, no desire. Anya Abhilash, how many desire, how much Abhilash? Shunya, zero. Jnana Karma Anavrita, free from all karma and jnana. But Madhvacharya is telling you perform karma and offer it to Krishna. Rupa Goswami is telling free from karma and jnana. Anukulina Krishnanu, whatever is favorable to Krishna, you do it. Shilanam, follow the footsteps of Rupa and Sanatana, of great acharyas. Follow their footsteps, how they have performed bhakti. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and take Bhakti Vinod Thakur. Shilanam Bhakti Uttama, that is Uttam Bhakti. So by dedicating one cannot attain love of God by executing karma kanda or jnana kanda, but by dedicating one's karma or fruitive activity to Supreme Lord, one may be relieved from the polluted mind, and becoming free from mental pollution helps elevate one to the spiritual platform. So should not we do karma? Should not we do one ashram dharma? We should do. Um, um, we should follow one ashram dharma and offer results to Krishna. What will be the benefit of that? By dedicating one's karma or fruitive back to Supreme Lord, one may be relieved from the polluted mind. The mind will become purified. Otherwise, one will become attached. So one will be relieved from the polluted mind, and becoming free from mental pollution helps elevate one to the spiritual platform. So according to our Vaishnava philosophy, this karma and offering the results to Krishna is a step, and the final goal is Shravan and Kirtan. That is what we want to do all the time. Even while working, if we are doing Shravan Kirtan, that's great. But the center, our advancement is actually based on Shravan Kirtan. Uh, uh, if one is not doing Shravan Kirtan, but only focusing on karma and doing things for the pleasure of Krishna, offering one's result to Krishna, then only the polluted mind can become less polluted. Eventually, it will bring you there. Eventually, we have to take to Shravan Kirtan to get Krishna Prema. One family used to come, Grand Rapids, many years back. Very favorable, started chanting 8 rounds, um, uh, were becoming more and more sincere. And then, one point of time, this Mataji had some exams. She is a doctor, both are doctors. She had an exam, and uh, she stopped coming to program for 2 months, day and night studying for the exams. And then she failed. Um, she could not take it, went into depression, did not want to show her face to the devotees. What will others think of me? Anyways, they stopped coming to program for 2 months because of that. And then lost complete touch. Then one time I called and they gave up hearing and chanting also. And then recently, like maybe 2 years back, I asked them, we are starting a new Bhagavad Gita session. Why don't you join again? Try to take the steps again. And then she said like, Prabhuji, we are being very Krishna conscious. I am doing everything. Every patient I see them as Krishna has sent them. Whatever I cook, I offer to Krishna, um, which is good. Basically, whatever they are doing, they are offering the results to Krishna. But there is no Shravan Kirtan, there is no chanting, and there is no hearing of Krishna Katha specifically. It's all about whatever my activities, I'm trying to see Krishna there, and I am being Krishna conscious in that way. That's just going to help us come out of pollution of the mind. Well, that's very good. And the risk is you may give up that also, and we'll be back to normal lifestyle, because for 6 months, 8 months, you have heard enough, you have understood about Krishna. So that hangover is there, and then you are still being trying to become Krishna conscious. There's a guilt feeling because you have knowledge now, you know what is the right thing. You have read the scriptures, you know what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. But at the same time, there is that inhibition because of whatever circumstances one may be placed into. Ultimately, when one gives up Shravan Kirtan, that's a fall down. Um, like Yogal Krishna Prabhu says, some devotees, they give up Shravan Kirtan, they cannot do. It all begins with association. When one develops a desire to stay aloof from association, that's the beginning of fall down. Slowly, slowly, one starts losing taste in Krishna consciousness when one goes away from association. When the desire to associate with devotees is gone, that's the beginning of fall down. And then it's like, that's okay, I can manage by myself. Then the next step will be the taste becomes weaker. Then chanting becomes mechanical. Then hearing completely stops, and then mechanical chanting. Then there is the next stage is leftover rounds. Today 12 only, so 4 tomorrow, and then tomorrow I'll do 20. Next day only 10. Okay, 8 remaining. Next day I will do 28. Okay, today 6 only. Okay, weekend I will do 30 rounds. And then weekend was very busy. And then slowly, slowly there is a fall down. And eventually one feels like, oh, this is very difficult. And then one gives up chanting also. And then there's a guilt feeling because one has heard a lot, and then one becomes a donor, and then one just gives money and supports, which is also, it will help come out of the polluted mind. But then ultimately the goal is Shravan Kirtan. There was uh, one Western lady, she was very sincere. I have so many stories of devotees going away from Krishna. So, we just witness. What can we do? We try our best, but what can we do? So she came to our program, both husband, wife, Westerners. They came to our program. Some of you know them also. She was chanting 16 rounds. And then slowly, came out of association, lost interest in association, then became mechanical, and then stopped chanting. And then when I called her, then she started avoiding the phone calls. And then when I texted, then how are you doing? Naturally, our heart pains because it should pain when we see devotees going away from Krishna. And then she texted, I am more Krishna conscious than ever. Now I'm so much Krishna conscious. I'm remembering Krishna all the time. So you are out of devotee association. You're not hearing, you're not chanting. And then our mind makes us feel I'm being more Krishna conscious than ever. So many answers I get. I don't know what to do in that case, in that situation. But I usually just keep in touch, and then after 1 year, then I again touch back. Mataji, come to the programs. We have Bhagavad Gita classes. We have this. So it all begins with losing a desire for association. In fact, um, um, when Rupa Goswami describes the 5 things that will ensure you continue making progress in your Krishna consciousness, these 5 things you should never give up. These 5 things should be done on daily basis. One is Bhagavatam. Then you will remain healthy in your spiritual life. One is chanting. Um, Never chant on those counter things. Always chant on beats. Chant in the mornings as much as possible, all 16 rounds. Um, uh, and don't never chant 15 rounds and leave one round for the next day. Never give in to that habit because you deviate 1%. After 2 years, you will see you have deviated 100% also. So, any scope of fall down, one should be careful. Don't let it enters. Like my spiritual master says, Maya enters drop by drop. She will just take one drop out and we think everything is okay. I'm still very Krishna conscious. I'm still serving in temple. I'm still doing so many things. I'm okay. But then it's a beginning. So one has to be very careful. That's why revelation of one's mind and association helps. So one is chanting, one is Bhagavad Shravan, daily read Bhagavatam. The moment we fall into illusion, which we will never realize because illusory energy is so powerful. So reading Bhagavatam will bring us back. If there is no reading habit, there is a good chance that we may be deviating and we won't even realize. I won't say it's a good chance. There is a sure guarantee. We will deviate and we will not realize. We need help from higher powers like Srimad Bhagavatam, like our spiritual masters, like Srila Prabhupada. We need help from there. We need to constantly hear them. Otherwise, deviation will come and we won't even realize. So one is chanting, one is Bhagavad Shravan, one is Vaishnava Association, um, and Vaishnava Seva, same category. Then one is deity worship, and one is Mathura Vas. Regularly visit. Rupa Goswami says if you cannot visit Vrindavan physically, then stay there mentally. If you can't stay there mentally, hear about Vrindavan. And also worship Tulasi at home. Prabhupada said that's also as good as Vrindavan. So he said these 5 are most potent forms of devotional service. Don't give these up. Worship Tulsi, worship the deities at home, chant the holy name, read Srimad Bhagavatam, associate with devotees. These three things should not be given up. Um, so it is advised everywhere to give up engagement in fruitive activities, for no one can attain the highest goal, love of God, by executing them, fruitive activities. But by one cannot attain love of God by executing karma kanda or jnana kanda, but by dedicating one's karma of fruitive activities to Supreme Lord, one may be relieved from the polluted mind. And becoming free from mental pollution helps elevate one to the spiritual platform. The purpose of doing, now think about it. Throughout our life, even in our childhood, like my mother used to worship Krishna deity, and we used to offer food. My mother and my father were initiated in a non bona fide sampradaya, and from Vrindavan, and they had a deity of Krishna, and they would worship Krishna alone. Now they worship Radha Krishna naturally. They would worship Krishna alone. They would follow four regulative principles. They would um, um, anything we would eat at home. First, it has to be offered. That time, naturally, none of us were in ISKCON, so my mother used to give me the plate, and I used to offer. And she would not give us anything unless it is offered to Krishna. But none of those things actually really brought significant advancement in none of our Krishna consciousness, because it's offering everything to Krishna. But the process is Shravan Kirtan. I was doing many of these things, my mother was doing, brother was doing, father was doing. But then what happened? We could not make hardly any spiritual progress. When we met Srila Prabhupada, read Srila Prabhupada books, and met Srila Prabhupada devotees, and we started chanting 16 down, now there is a great difference. My mother also realized, and now she got another spiritual master, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, initiated. Brother is initiated, his wife is initiated, and everybody got initiated. And because we could see the difference of just keeping Krishna in the center, doing everything for the pleasure of Krishna, or doing Shravan Kirtan, our spiritual advancement actually come from Shravan Kirtan. Otherwise, it may definitely be said that whatever we were doing helped us pave the way so we can meet Srila Prabhupada. And that's what Mahaprabhu is telling. It's great. It's being Krishna conscious. But the center is Shravan Kirtan. So one may be relieved from the polluted mind and become free from mental pollution. It helps elevate one to spiritual platform. Then, however, one needs the association of pure devotees. For only by pure devotee association one can become a pure devotee of Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. When one comes to the stage of pure devotional service, the process of Shravan Kirtana is very essential. So, one cannot become a pure devotee of Krishna without the association of pure devotee. Trust me on this. Only pure devotee association can can make us a pure devotee of Krishna. By our own strength, we cannot. And we all will realize this at some point of time. We need association of pure devotees. And that's why we have a spiritual master. We hear from our spiritual master. We read the books by pure devotees, which is by Sukadev Goswami, by Srila Prabhupada. So in this way, we are associating with pure devotees. By hearing our spiritual master, by reading books by pure devotees, hearing from pure devotees, serving pure devotees, we won't know the value of these elements because it's part of our life. But without their mercy, without their association, one cannot become a pure devotee. Because whatever wrong we are doing, they will correct us. We are taking guidance from a pure consciousness, and that will help avoid many pitfalls that we may think it's okay. That's why reading is a must. Association of pure devotees is a must. If you're not taking association of pure devotees, you may continue chanting, but you won't advance. You will find your spiritual life is stagnating. You will find कि कुछ अच्छा नहीं लग रहा अभी. You will not see tangible progress in your Krishna consciousness. You will just be in a maintenance mode. If you want to make tangible progress in your Krishna consciousness, you need to associate with pure devotees. And that is, you read Srila Prabhupada books and you hear from pure devotees. They will give you inspiration. They will give you enthusiasm. they will give you divinity, and that will naturally nourish our Krishna consciousness. Okay, let's do just this one last slide. I see the time already. By executing the 9 items of devotional service, beginning with Shravan Kirtan, one is completely purified. Anya Bilashita Shunya Jnana Karmali Anavrita. Only then one is able to execute Krishna's orders in Bhagavad Gita, beginning with Shravan Kirtan. Um, then, so what we'll do is, since this topic is, we'll continue this topic of Shravan Kirtan, importance of Shravan Kirtan over all other processes. And the rest, just I just don't want to rush it and finish it off. And then um, um, few more slides before Mahaprabhu returns. But certainly next week he will return back to Jagannath Puri. Okay. Are there any questions, discussions at this point of time?
But surprising to hear that that couple is not there. They moved to Grand Rapids. Right?
Can you say louder?
They moved to even Grand Rapids also, right? That couple.
Oh, I can barely hear you, Prabhu. Um, um,
Can you hear now?
okay, let's try again. Go ahead, Prabhu.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, little light, but I can hear you.
It was surprising to hear that that couple is not there, but they moved to Grand Rapids, right? From somewhere.
Oh, that Western family.
Yeah.
Yeah, they moved to Grand Rapids. They're still in Grand Rapids, bro. But they start chanting. um, yeah, I mean, we see many cases. I have faith. Actually, now I told one aspect, but which was kind of a scary aspect. But I'll tell you one more positive aspect, Prabhuji. Even if we leave Krishna, Krishna will drag us back. This is Srila Prabhupada said, you don't know the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu. Anybody who sincerely chants the holy name of Krishna once, Nitai will drag him to success. Once devotional service once began, cannot be stopped. One can temporarily halt. Very soon one realize the jewel that one has received and lost, and one will repent. And that may come after 1 year, 2 year, or that may come after one lifetime also. But guaranteed, they all will go back home, back to Godhead. They all will take up Krishna consciousness. If not in Michigan, maybe in California. If not in this life, in the next life. Um, but Krishna will drag them back. So there is no loss or diminution. Neha bikama nashasti pratyavana vidyate. Swarpamapi dharmasya prayate mahato bhayat. But our heart pains because there will be struggle. Material life is struggle. So for some year there will be struggle. Good. Does it answer, Prabhu?
Yeah, yeah.
Any other question?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji. When Radharani and associates in Vrindavan, all gopis take a form in Dwaraka.
Yes.
As you mentioned, Prabhuji, like the associates that are in Vrindavan, they do get pacified, Prabhuji, for taking association in Dwaraka. Expansions and then getting association in Dwaraka with Krishna. So, do they get religion pacified for the separation that they are bearing?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Well, Mataji, when Krishna comes in this material world, the leelas are mixed. Now, in spiritual world, there is Goloka, and then there is Dwarka, and the leelas are separate. Um, um, Satyabhama, Kalindi, Rukmini, who is Chandravali, they are eternally there. They are all expansions of the the residents of Vrindavan. They both eternally exist, and they both have individual pastimes. So in Bhoma Vrindavan, because Krishna comes and all Krishna combined comes and he performs many pastimes, it's very difficult to understand Krishna's pastimes. So the leelas are mixed. He performs childhood pastime that doesn't exist in Goloka, in the planet we are coming from. Other pastimes are never, most many pastimes never happened there. And then he left, doesn't happen in Golok Vrindavan. So all mixed leelas. So when they all came to Dwarka, they all simultaneously existed. The Leela and Goloka are not as sweet as the Leela of Dwarka. So Dwarka Leela are exhibiting. Some people will be very much attracted to Dwarka Leela and they will aspire to go to Dwarka, and these Leelas exist. They help us also. Krishna is Krishna, so we hear all the leelas, but some will aspire for that mood, some will aspire for Vrindavan mood. Simultaneously, Radharani and Lalita and Vishakha and others, they were in deep mood of separation throughout in Vrindavan. They are expansions. There is a Leela connects how they are expansions, that shows, but they both simultaneously exist, one in Sambhog and one in Vipralamba, and these pastimes continues. And Radha and Lalita Vishakha, they don't know we are there with Krishna, Satyabhama, Rukmini, and Karindi. They don't know. Although there is a whole pastime, Yoga Maya potency, Yoga Maya plays a major role. Radharani lefts, departs, goes to Dwarka, reappears again, and then she doesn't remember what happened also. Yoga Maya. Just like Yashoda Devi, she saw the whole universe within Krishna's mouth, and next moment she forgot that she actually saw universe in Krishna's mouth. So many things devotees see supremacy of Krishna and they forget completely Yoga Maya potency. Likewise, she doesn't remember also. And she's thinking, I've always been there and there is a mode of Vipralamba. So Yoga Maya plays major role in Krishna's pastimes. Does it answer, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other question?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanavad Pranam.
That's Pranam.
Prabhuji, one second, Prabhuji. We forms of devotional service, right? Like association, reading, chanting, deity worship. So today you mentioned that hearing Shravanam and Kirtanam is the main. So I'm trying to relate. So the importance, 5 limbs versus the hearing and chanting. Can you please explain?
Okay. So what is your question? Should we do the other 5 limbs? Just focus. Is that your question?
Yeah, kind of. I was thinking. Like we have among 5 also, like this is the first and this is the second, or simultaneously the 5 limbs have to be practiced for devotional service.
Wonderful. Well, if you can go ahead and hear, if you can find, I don't know how the classes are recorded. This, I'm repeating the words of Sagar Maharaj, who visited us at the first Bhagavatam class he gave. And then Sham Krishna Prabhu asked this question to Sagar Maharaj: is there any shortcut to make progress in Krishna consciousness? And Sagar Maharaj said, well, 5 potent forms of devotional service. Deity worship, Mathura Vas, Shrimad Bhagavatam, association, chanting. And then Sagar Maharaj said, then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu reduced it further into 2. And he said, okay, now try this too. And then he quoted a verse from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, which we have discussed in the past. He quoted that. And then he said, Vaishnav Seva Nama Sankirtan. And then there is something. And then Avashya Paibe Krishnera Charana. So one will guaranteed attain the lotus feet of Krishna if one do Vaishnav Seva and Nam Sankirtan. So among these 5 also, Sagar Maharaj says, Vaishnav Seva, which is association and service, and chanting. These two takes preference also. Um, Something on that, deity worship is also extremely important. Why? Deity worship will deepen the smara. When you worship the deities, they will become your ishtadev, and then they will capture your consciousness. So uh, deity worship, like for our line, deity worship should not be separated from chanting because they are interconnected. You worship the deities, you capture a lot of kind of memories, meditations, and then you can do smaran on them while chanting. My personal experience, seven types upon Gaura Hari, and then they becomes the object of my smaran. Now, if I never worship them, now they are actually helping me in my chanting. And likewise, Radha Gopi Jana Vallabha. There is another article which says that how worship of the deities will give us rag marks, spontaneous devotion. So that's why now another thing, I'm collecting few thoughts on that. Rupa Goswami says, because in our state the mind may not be purified fully, so deity worship escalates the purification of mind to such an extent that, especially for people in renounced order, deity worship is extremely important because the mind is by default agitated. So deity worship completely pacifies the mind. One maintains one's ashram because of deity worship. Lot of importance on deity worship. This is instruction of Rupa Goswami that it really escalates our progress in Krishna consciousness. And then Srila Prabhupada said, Bhagavad Vidhi and Prancharatika Vidhi, these are two parallel tracks of a train. So Bhagavad Vidhi, Shravan Kirtan, Pancharatika Vidhi is deity worship. So two parallel tracks of a train means keep them going parallelly. So whatever we are doing is perfect. And that's why Rupa Goswami has included all these five as the most important forms of devotional service. On a very advanced stage, if you see, um, one devotee asked my spiritual master, his name is Radhana Swami Maharaj, Maharaj, about your deity worship, and Maharaj showed the beadback and he said, this is my deity. Some sannyasis, they carry deity, some sannyasis just depend on the holy name. And ultimately Shravan Kirtan now should not be, deity worship should not be minimized. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would worship Govardhan Shila every day with tears in his eyes, deity worship. Um, and we see all the Goswamis would worship deities. Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Jiva Goswami, and they established temples. And Srila Prabhupada established temples, Saswai Thakur established temples. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur had the worship of the deities that he would do. Um, um, and Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur had his own deities. Baldev Vidyabhushan has his own deities. So best is these five, and no need to discriminate, but for the sake of, if you really want, then Shravan Kirtan and Vaishnav Seva still stand supreme. The proof is some devotees may not be doing deity worship and can be completely absorbed in holy name and they go back to Godhead. But others, if they are not chanting and hearing and only doing deity worship, they probably will not make it back on back to Godhead. So from that perspective, you can see that Shravan Kirtan is the supreme. Yet deity worship purifies the mind and helps deepen Shravan Kirtan, and two parallel tracks of a train. So accompanying both is ideal. Um, and I personally follow that example is serving both. Does it answer, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you.
Okay.
Prabhuji, one last question.
Okay.
For taking association, Prabhuji, like in these days, like when we hear from Zoom or any lectures, like is that equals to taking association?
On a personal level.
Mm.
Well, I will say on both. Personal association is way more beneficial than Zoom association. Um, Time, place, circumstances. This is the best thing we can do at this point of time. Uh, Preference. If someone thinks some visiting speakers are coming, Maharaj is coming, you may have experience when you come and hear from Maharaj in person or when you hear from Maharaj in Zoom, there will be a difference between day and night. There'll be an immense difference. Madhanda Prabhu says, like he explains technically, when we are in personal association, the divinity of the especially pure Vaishnavas, the divinity of the Vaishnava inundates the environment, and the environment is sanctified, and the hearing goes much more deeper. Example is, you come to Sunday feast, there is Sunday feast kirtan, 100 people are chanting Hare Krishna, and then there is a very high divinity, and then you sit, listen at the feet of a Vaishnav, and you hear, the words will enter into the heart. And Zoom, the mind will be distracted, we will be doing many things here and there, and the absorption will be partial and many thought. But if you now, what happens is that divinity that pacifies the mind, makes the mind in mode of goodness, and makes it much more conducive. Another thing Madhvananda Prabhu says, from, I mean, I don't remember, he used very technical words like there are multiple stage of divinity that emanates from Vaishnav. One is through the mouth, one is through the heart, one is through different body parts, something technically. And he says, over YouTube, you only access an aspect of the Vaishnav association, but in personal association, you get the full access of that divinity. A very good example is, you hear Shri Prabhupada Kirtan, we feel lot of divinity, but then it will not be compared at all to Shri Prabhupada was actually doing Kirtan and we are sitting in the room. Like we see Srila Prabhupada in the park, Tompkins Square Park, chanting Hare Krishna, devotees are mad in ecstasy, rotating. That is a very different experience than when we hear the same kirtan. We will feel divinity. We will feel, oh, this is very nice. But it is nowhere compared to when we are so thrown up in ecstasy that we are chanting and dancing. So, um, um, on now, some devotees, what they do, I'm not talking about this is time plus circumstances. Sometimes they're like, okay, YouTube lectures are there, sannyasis are visiting. What is the name? That's okay. I'm hearing same word. So that's a misconception. So one should never, if one having this idea, Zoom is enough and personalization is not needed, then there is some misunderstanding in our uh, yeah, it's not a correct understanding. Now, association at the same time can be taken through books, and I personally take a lot of association through books, and that helps me in some small way. And then since I'm living in temple, it's different because every day we have in-person Bhagavatam classes. Every day, sannyasis are visiting here, so it's different. But as much as possible for all of us in the call, actually the mood should be, we should run for association. We should not avoid association. If you're avoiding association, um, we may want to work on that thought process, but rather we may want to cultivate the idea that there is a personal association, let me run for it. Srila Prabhupada also said, if Guru comes, run for Vapu, but among Vapu and Vani is more important because ultimately Vapu will go. So we cannot depend only on Vapu for Gurudev. But if Vapu is there, one should run for it. Does that answer, Sirisha Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Harshini Mataji, you had a question?
Yes, Prabhuji. I have two questions. So my first question is that if it's a Vaishnav family and if we are like not doing something out of the box but just doing our regular duty, still will it be considered as a Vaishnav seva? Like serving family of Vaishnava?
Okay, yes. If you serve family members who are devotees, it is Vaishnava Seva. Definitely, Mataji. And the proof is you serve them, you please them, you will, the proof, easy way to experience is you displease them and you will feel difficulty in your spiritual life. And you please them, you will feel um, advancement. They are first devotees, then their family members. It is as good as, we have other brahmacharis and we serve them. We live together and we serve them, and that's Vaishnava Seva. So, for example, for me, Sham Prabhu is eating and then he wants something more. Then I take pleasure going and getting something for him. So I know, okay, he's pleased. Then Guru and Krishna will be pleased with me. So the mood is also important. The mood when there is an opportunity to render service, um, the mood that, okay, great gratitude, I'm getting a chance to serve a Vaishnav here, will further intensify because it's all about consciousness. We will get the benefit anyways, but if with the right consciousness, we do the right thing, the benefit is way, way much more, because it's the consciousness, Bhavagrahi Janardhan, that pleases Krishna. So if we have the right consciousness, we will make advancement. So if it answers, then what is the next question?
My next question is like when we read or hear from Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita, and if during the day we have some thought process of reminding those principles, maybe from Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita, so is it equivalent to remember Krishna, or it's different? It's just we are trying to remind ourselves those principles. It's not equivalent to remind Krishna, as Krishna has told or about Krishna. It is so. It is equivalent.
Yeah, wonderful. It is 100% equivalent. Bhagavatam Tulya Krishna. Bhagavat and Krishna are non-different. So when Shri Krishna went back to Goloka, Bhagavatam descended. Absolutely no difference. You remember a verse, you remember Prahlad Maharaj, you remember Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master, that is also Bhagavatam. You remember now Krishna, it is like Lord Shiva says, higher than service to Krishna is Tadiya. Tadiya is devotees of Krishna. Remembering devotees of Krishna may be even more beneficial than remembering Krishna. Serving devotees of Krishna especially is even more beneficial than serving Krishna. Serving Krishna's pastimes, which is by hearing them, serving the pastimes of devotees, just by hearing pastimes of devotees, is even higher than serving Krishna. To get a chance whether to serve deities or to serve devotees, prefer service to devotees. You will make more progress in your Krishna consciousness. And service to devotees does not necessarily mean just by physically serving them, but even listening about them, like Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruv Maharaj, they are serving devotees just by listening them. This is called serving the Leela. You can serve the Roop, Naam, Guna, Leela. Serving Roop is one aspect. Serving Leela is just by hearing you are serving Prahlad and you are receiving their mercy. So absolute no difference. Does it answer? Good?
Yes, Prabhuji. So just one more related to this. So shall we try to always take out some quality from that about Krishna? Like, for example, I was hearing in morning, like Prahlad Maharaj, he told that demigods also were there when Narsimha was there, but still, like he took a humble position, and then when he tried to pacify Narsimha Dev, so he got pacified. So, like from that, we need to correlate the quality of uh, devotee or quality of Krishna. So always we need to try to relate that to some quality. Is it more beneficial, or how? Like.
So you saw a quality of Prahlad Maharaj and you want to see how this quality is existing in maybe spiritual master or in Lord Krishna and meditate on that.
Yeah, means we should try to correlate some principles to related to Krishna's quality or devotee's qualities. Is it more beneficial? I'm just trying to
It will be
understand
highly
that.
beneficial. It will develop a, a meditation on Krishna. It will develop an attraction for Krishna. Highly beneficial. Yes. Now, should we do it all the time? It's a personal choice. um, Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't do, and we just go with the flow. So I would not say that this should be done at all point of time, but if you are doing it, I would encourage it, and I would say it is highly beneficial. If you can remember Krishna and remember Guru while hearing about great souls, great. Is that all right?
Yeah, because sometimes I'm confused that to remember Krishna means exactly how we should remember Krishna, which will give more benefit to us. So I'm little confused on that. So I'm trying to
Understand.
identify some ways by which it means really to remember Krishna in effective way.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
trying to analyze that.
Thank you. Well, wonderful question. Hearing about Prahlad Maharaj is also remembering Krishna. Hearing about pure devotees, associating with pure devotees, praying to pure devotees, hearing anything that Bhagavatam says is also remembering Krishna. Everything comes under remembering Krishna. If you can be absorbed in either Bhagavatam or a verse of Bhagavad Gita or a pastime or directly Krishna or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, this is all under the category of always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. Does it help?
Yes, thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Okay, so I guess we are already late. We'll end here. Somehow I feel like it's been ages as I spoke to all of you. Somehow this feeling is there. Vanchakalpatarubhesha kripa sindhubhe evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, शिला प्रभुपाद की जय। दंडवत प्रणाम। प्रभु जी जन्माता जी, हरे कृष्ण।